Patrick McNeil back here with you at the intermission and joined now by Breton Eagles 18-year-old forward Jack Campbell. Jack, we're getting our legs under us here in the second half of the season. What are your thoughts on the year thus far for the Eagles?
The year's been going pretty good, actually, especially since we got back. We started to get a few more wins than we had in the first half. Team's starting to kind of come together a bit better here, and hopefully even better in the future.
It's a big factor in the second half. Chad Cassidy comes in as the new head coach. From your perspective, what is it like playing for a team that changes its coach mid-season?
It's just kind of like into a new season almost, especially after a break. You kind of get that little break, and then you're right into something completely new. It definitely changes things up on the team.
Walk us through what this week and the last few weeks have been as the team tries to get back to full strength coming off that COVID outbreak where a number of players were a bit under the weather.
Yeah, we were up in Quebec, and there's a little COVID protocol. You got to test negative or whatever, and then you have to do the 6 days before you can play a game. So most important thing is to try to just get our wind back and everything after having all that cough and everything from COVID. I think we're almost back to pretty well healthy.
Did you notice, or any of your teammates notice, that even if you felt fine going into a practice, it was still tough to get the lungs going?
Some of the guys, yeah, they've noticed. First couple practices back, it was kind of hard on the lungs, but I didn't really feel that at all. I kind of just felt the same as when I left. It wasn't bad for me.
Your time playing in the QMJHL, you've established yourself as a physical player. You like to mix it up. How do you walk the line in terms of staying an effective player and making sure that when you're in the penalty box, you're getting your money's worth, so to speak, out of getting a penalty?
I try to get my money's worth. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes a bit of stupid penalties, but I try to stay out of the box and just have a hard game and not get any penalties. Just kind of play a hard game, be on top of the puck, finish hits, and try not to get penalties all the time. Obviously, it happens sometimes when you play that kind of game.
Now, you're not the biggest player out there on the ice. At what age do you think you started to develop an identity as being a physical player?
I think I've always kind of been one. I remember before we could play hit and hockey, I was always just itching to be able to be in Bantam, be able to hit. I've always been a smaller guy, but I've always just, obviously when I was younger, I couldn't hit and stuff. I still kind of just always been really competitive and just do anything to try and win. So that comes along with that, I guess.
You talked about playing Bantam, where you were the MVP, I believe, your last year playing Bantam. What did it mean to be given that honor, be top player in the province?
That was definitely pretty cool. It was a really good year that year. I was playing with a lot of my best buddies from growing up and all guys around me. So we had a good, fun year that year, and it ended up being a pretty good year for me. We had a good team that year too, so it's definitely an honor to have that award back then, yeah.
Now, I know you're part of the PEI contingent on the Eagles. I know the Squires boys dabbled in baseball growing up. Did you play any other sports other than hockey?
I played a little bit of soccer in the summers till probably around first year Bantam, and then it was pretty much just hockey, and then obviously school sports like cross country and track and field. I used to be pretty into them when I was in school.
Looking through Instagram, I saw some pretty impressive pictures from the off season regarding your fishing in the summer. Is this something you do competitively? What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
I do lobster fishing in the off season. You've probably seen the picture of the tuna. That was this summer with my uncle. I went out a couple times with my uncle and his son and a couple other guys and got 2 tuna this summer that I was out with them. They were decent size. I think one of them was 500 pounds.
That was what I was going to ask. I don't know a lot about fishing, but that seems like a lot of weight. Now,
yeah.
You and I were talking before hitting record that this is quite the stretch the Eagles are in. It's going to end up being 30 games in 62 days. They talked to Chad Cassidy about the preparation there. Do you think about that much as a player? Have you seen a schedule like that before? What do you think the next few months are going to be like?
There'll definitely be a grind to try and get through that many games in such a short period of time, but I've never really played that many games for sure. Growing up, it's kind of just 2-3 games, maybe a week, usually 2, and then even in the queue, the first 2 years, it was 2 to 3 games a week. It'll be definitely a big difference, but we're just going to have to try and take care of our bodies as good as we can, try and get through it.
Through injury or whether the coaches just wanting to mix things up, you've had the opportunity to play with a lot of different players this year. Is there any line in particular you've been most comfortable on, or do you pride yourself as being someone who can play with different guys?
I try not to think about too much who I'm playing with. I try not to worry about that. I just kind of want to be a player that can play with anybody in the team, just kind of versatile that way, can play any role that the coach gives me. I don't really have a preference on exactly who I play with in the team.
Before doing this interview, I always make sure to do research to see if there's any interesting facts I may have missed. And I wanted to know if you were ever frustrated Googling for information about yourself and just coming up with stuff for the Leafs goaltender. Has that ever happened to you?
It's never happened to me, but I've been tagged on Instagram and stuff They use my account posting pictures of Jack Campbell. They tag my account, meaning to tag him, I guess. That part's pretty funny, I guess. It's kind of weird just looking through and it's not actually me.
There used to be a Washington Capitals prospect named Patrick McNeil, so I can sort of relate. I think I got a message on Facebook once, but it wasn't that common. How do you feel you've progressed thus far in your QMJHL career, and what goals do you set for the rest of the season?
I definitely become more comfortable in the league. I think I've definitely improved my defensive game a lot, and I'm pretty comfortable going in the corner against anybody in the league. Obviously, when I was 16, I wasn't scared to go in the corner, but I wasn't definitely as effective in battles and stuff. And I just kind of want to, for the rest of the year, try and maybe up my offensive side of the game a bit.
We'll be watching for that. Best of luck the rest of the way, Jack. Thanks for this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Eagles 4, Jack Campbell joining us at the intermission. You're listening to Uniglass Plus, Cape Breton Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.